Hey there, this is FMA Chat here, welcoming you to part 2 of my Star Wars speculation/timeline video regarding Palpatine's contingency plan, which he orchestrated before the events of the Clone Wars and was put into effect after the Battle of Endor. In this video, we'll be covering the events from after the Aftermath trilogy and before the Force Awakens, of how Palpatine and the remnants of the Empire made preparations to retake the galaxy. Like before, expect any botches in dialogue, as I made mistakes during recordings like I did with the last part. So now that we got those out of the way, let's move on to the video.
You see, the Republic spent decades doing nothing. And all along, we were preparing for this day.
With the use of dark science on Exegol to speculate, the reborn Darth Sidious created an artificial humanoid alien, Snoke, entrusting to also lead in his place a new army transisted from the Imperial Remnant hiding in the unknown regions. Aiding the Imperial Remnant through the dangers of the unknown regions, Snoke would take command of the successor of the fallen Empire as their supreme leader, under the commands of the reborn Emperor Palpatine. A cadre of elite guards, much like the Emperor's royal guards in the days of the Empire, these Praetorian guards protect the supreme leader with their own lives. With his clone body decaying and unable to contain his immense power, Darth Sidious's disciples attempted to create receptacles for him to transfer his spirit into without deteriorating. Being forced to transfer his spirit into the clone body was too early due to the act of the redeemed Anakin Skywalker. Sidious was mobilized through the use of an almond harness, a mechanical spine once worn by Amon, an ancient Sith king, and the decay of his body was slowed by vials of restorative fluid. In the process of creating a new body for the Dark Lord, the disciples created a Strandcast, a not quite identical clone without force powers, much to Palpatine's disgust. Through unknown circumstances, the son of the Dark Lord fell in love with a woman and raised a family. Believing that his granddaughter would be the perfect vessel for holding the immense power of the Sith, Palpatine had Sith assassin Ochi to bring his granddaughter back to Exegol. Leaving their daughter on Jakku for her protection, the parents were taken and killed by the assassin, and refusing to reveal her whereabouts. Meanwhile, sensing the son of Leia and Han Solo, Ben Solo, Snoke sought to corrupt Ben to the dark side, and into becoming his apprentice. Rising from the ashes of the fallen Galactic Empire, the First Order began to rise in power, becoming a rogue nation that dwelled within the unknown regions, far from the peering eyes of the New Republic while violating many of the Galactic Concordance. Amassing legions of stormtroopers from infants that were abducted and forced into training, ranging from normal infantry units to specialized variations such as flame troopers, jet troopers, and even executioners that were chosen by random for duty. Numerous ships were manufactured by companies that served during the reign of the Empire, such as Kuat Intrala Engineering, spawned from the Kuat Drive Yard Company, and Sienar Jamina's Fleet Systems from Sienar Fleet Systems. While few that make up the Navy range from Dissident-class light cruisers to Maxima A-class heavy cruisers, the majority of the First Order's Navy comprised of Resurgent-class Star Destroyers. 2,915 meters long, it is almost twice the size of its Imperial predecessor. The Resurgent draws design elements from both the Imperial and Venator classes, while improving from various flaws of the Imperial design. Featuring upgraded weaponry, which stemming from Kyber focusing crystals harvested from a secret source deep in the unknown regions, other captains clamored for upgrades to their warships, only to be denied as military-grade crystals were in short supply. Various models for the TIE starfighters were manufactured, such as the regular TIE fighter and its Special Forces variant, both fitted with hyperdrives and shields, as well as the TIE Silencer, and then the TIE Whisper and its Interceptor variant. Sienar Jamina's Fleet Systems also designed the TIE bombers for the First Order, much like their predecessors that were in service in the Empire. The TIE Baron Interceptor was designed for pilots that far exceeded those in the Special Forces. Kuat Intrala Engineering manufactured warships that dwarfed the Resurgent Star Destroyers, such as the Manator 4-class siege dreadnoughts. 7,669 meters in length, these fleet killers possess 26 point-defense cannons and 2 orbital autocannons that can punch for a planetary shield or annihilate enemy ships. The Supremacy-class Star Dreadnought, blurs the line between command ship and mobile space station, that only one existed. 13 kilometers long and 60 kilometers wide, the Supremacy's width is 3 times the length of 3 executive-class Star Dreadnoughts. The ship itself served as the mobile capital of the First Order and flagship of Snoke. Variations of the all-terrain walkers were manufactured by Quad-Intrala drive yards, such as the First Order variants of the AT-AT and the AT-ST, but as well as the all-terrain heavy hauler, the urban assault tripod transport, and the all-terrain mobile artillery, to name a few. The Tallarine all-terrain Mega Caliber 6 were the successors to the AT-AT. Standing at 40 meters tall and devastating weaponry, including a Mega Caliber 6 turbolaser cannon. Superlaser siege cannons were designed to break through enemy defenses, requiring AT-HHs to tow them. These 200-meter-long miniaturized Death Star technology create devastating blasts enough to break down any defenses. Snoke sought control of the Imperial Remnant by eliminating competition until he alone was to rule, assuming that Ray Sloan was one of the Imperial leaders that were eliminated. Joining the second wave of leadership kept in reserve by Snoke, a Legion General Enric Pride was given command of a resurgent Star Destroyer by the Supreme Leader himself, naming it the Steadfast in honor of the Imperial Star Destroyer Pride commanded himself in the days of the Empire. A First Order scouting mission led by Brendel Hux led to his ship crashing on a savage world known as Parnassus. A brutal warrior named Phasma aided Brendel Hux and his troops into contacting their allies in exchange for joining their ranks and training their stormtroopers, betraying her clan in the process. Luke Skywalker senses darkness in his nephew, Ben Solo, and ignites his lightsaber in a moment of weakness. Ben knocks his uncle unconscious and destroys the Jedi Temple. It was then that Ben became Kylo Ren, leader of the Knights of Ren, and Snoke's apprentice. Devastated, Luke goes into exile in Ahch-To. Aware of Snoke's plan to sway Ben to the dark side, Emperor Palpatine masquerades as the spirit of Darth Vader, speaking to Kylo Ren through the Force. Growing suspicious of Phasma's training methods and her true allegiance, Captain Cardinal interrogates captured spy V. Moradi of her knowledge of his fellow captain. V reveals to Cardinal of Phasma's origin, and that it was Phasma herself that was responsible for Brendel Hux's death after the events of Parnassus, to keep her origin secret. Realizing that Phasma would betray the First Order if the opportunity would present itself, Cardinal approaches Armitage Hux with the knowledge of his father's death. But Armitage reveals that he conspired with Phasma to kill his father, so that Armitage himself would assume his position as general. Despite being threatened by General Hux to keep the information secret, Cardinal confronted and attempted to kill Phasma, only to be wounded during the fight. V. Moriarty, whom Cardinal freed after confronting Hux, rescues Cardinal and escapes his resurgent Star Destroyer, the Absolution, solidifying Cardinal's defection from the First Order. Under the leadership of Darth Sidious, the Sith Eternal made the groundworks for the final phase of his scheme to retake the galaxy, in the form of the Sith Fleet. Within the executive boards of Quad-Intrala Engineering and Sinai Jaminist fleet systems were the presence of Sith loyalists, allowing the clandestine funneling of supplies and designs to Exegol through various intermediaries. The latest generation of TIE craft, the TIE Dagger, while lacking the hyperdrive their First Order variants wielded, featuring heavy laser cannons within the layered wing panels. Using the First Order's mandated 4-class siege dreadnought to inform their design, legions of Syston-class Star Destroyers were constructed not only as capital ships, but planet killers, reminiscent to the Death Stars of the Galactic Empire. While their axial superlasers connected to the reactor core serving as a major weakness, these Star Destroyers were mass-produced, correcting the flaw of decade-long construction that it took for the Empire's Death Stars. The Syston class were not only based on the design of the Imperial 1 class, but also nearly matched the length of its resurgent counterpart, 2,406 meters. In order to deploy the ships from the chaotic skies of Exegol, a navigation beacon was constructed to guide the ships into the known galaxy. These ships would be commanded by loyalists to the Sith Eternal, like the opportunistic Chesil Sabron, who killed, betrayed, and outworked her fellow officers to obtain her position as captain of the Defarian. Like the First Order, an army of elite soldiers were created in the form of Sith troopers. Many Sith troopers had been originally taken by the First Order as children, but due to their potential, spies culled and disappeared them, allowing them to become soldiers of the Sith Eternal. Wielding crimson red armor that invokes an aura of dread, of spilled blood, and of Sith lightsabers, this class of trooper also varied in different variations. The Sith jet trooper wielded armor identical to their First Order counterparts, with the only difference in color. The best of the Sith troopers are elevated to the rank of Sovereign Protector, forming a cadre of elite royal guards, which a number would protect Darth Sidious while physically unable to move due to his decaying clone body. Unbeknownst to the High Command of the First Order, Allegiant General Pryde had a heavy role in the creation of the Sith fleet, viewing the Sith fleet as his life's work, keeping its existence a secret from the First Order. After the Empire's fall at the Battle of Jakku, the founders of the First Order secured research logs from secret Imperial laboratories detailing a specific planet. After searching for decades in the unknown regions for a world that met the planet's exact specifications, the First Order eventually located an ancient Jedi world, Ilum. During Imperial occupation, the planet was harvested and overmined for kyber crystals, to the point that a large industrial equatorial trench was realized over the planet as part of Imperial plans, replacing what were gaping cracks that struck into the planet core of Kyber. Chosen to be the First Order's superweapon, the planet was initially scouted by snowtrooper teams, who eliminated any native lifeforms that could have posed a threat to the extensive future excavation and construction project. Mining operations were conducted in order to harvest the planet's kyber crystal deposits for use in the First Order's war machine, and after sufficient excavation was completed, thus Ilum became Starkiller Base, the technological successor to the Death Stars of the Empire. To my speculation, Starkiller Base was designed to destroy the New Republic, thus beginning the First Order's plans for conquest of the galaxy. In order to sustain the energy that was drained from a sun, a thermal oscillator was constructed to keep any contained energy from destabilizing the planet. Leia Organa had been urging the New Republic to take the First Order seriously, believing that the Empire before it wouldn't honor to the peace. She was against the Demilitarization Act the New Republic went through after the end of the Galactic Civil War. Unfortunately, she was deemed a warmonger by the Senate, believing that the First Order was not a threat that Leia herself viewed them to be. Her credibility was damaged when it was revealed that Leia was the daughter of Darth Vader, by the Centrists, a political faction whose loyalties secretly were with the First Order. Realizing that the Senate could not protect the New Republic, Leia, along with the few remaining allies she could trust, such as Guile Akbar, C-3PO, Jove Seastriker, and Temmin Wexley, formed a paramilitary outfit called the Resistance, a splinter force of the New Republic. Throughout the years after the formation of the Resistance, various skirmishes broke out between the Resistance and the First Order, beginning the Cold War. While the dogfights lasted throughout the years, a full-scale war wouldn't break out until one fateful day, 34 years after the Battle of Endor. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as I did making it. On the next part, we'll be covering the events of The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and all that happened before the events of The Rise of Skywalker. Thanks again.